Interrupt you because I want to make sure people have a chance to ask questions. Tom?
Thank you. Ed Carroll. Mr. Ambassador, I wonder, we've heard several times this morning about the difference in the size of our two countries, and I wonder whether, calling on your background as an economist and using what you've learned throughout your career, you could tell us if you think that given the U.S. form of governance on a gross level, a federal versus a state system, and also the difference in the size of our country, particularly the population, not the physical size differences, you believe that the models of governance in your country could realistically work in the United States?
That's a very good question, and I always say that I really don't know if our public sector, private sector, excellent corporation would work in a country of 300 million. What we're trying to do in Europe is to unify European Union member states, 27 now, that is 486 million Europeans, in what is similar to, but not identical to, the United States of America. So we're trying to build European Union of 27 European member states that has been around for more than 1,000 years. Strong individual sovereign states and cultures that are exactly hindered by our different cultures and languages. We have common currencies, common foreign policy, common policies, identical policies of trade, business, all the modern parts of any society that you need to have equal, but not in health, not in taxes, not in culture, not in education. So we are still lagging behind you in the US because you've gotten that in your constitution. So what I'm trying to say is, in reality, that nobody could answer that question. How much government bureaucracy could you build covering the whole of US, and how much should be given to the individual states? I think your founding fathers hit it very right in your wonderful constitution, that as much as possible should be solved at the lowest possible level. But you have to be very careful in these days, given the advancement of technology and economy, to also go up and give the bigger levels of government, that is the federal government and the nation of the US government operations, a lot of these challenges that some of you would say, probably being a Republican, as some of you would be, that is not done at that level. He's wrong. I'm trying to speak completely independent, objectively, as you asked me to, what I see as an economist being done. I think the balance and the center of gravity is changing. Therefore, we have the European Union. Not just to keep peace between us and Europe, as is a primary focus of it, but also to take care of those economies of scale that we Europeans need in order to compete with you Americans and the Chinese and the Indians.
That's an excellent question. And a country of 5 million people can do things that a country of 300 million people will find it a lot more bureaucratic and difficult to do, no question about it. How you get that appropriate balance is a struggle. Yes, sir.
Peter Regan, involved in metals processing technology and equipment, mostly for export. My question relates to energy. Your neighbors in Norway and Sweden have accomplished tremendous things, same as your countries, but they've had the benefit of oil and hydropower, respectively. Does Denmark have energy sources of that type? Could you discuss that?
I think one of the most sort of brilliant results of our society in the last 30, 40 years is actually our energy sector. We came out with the US after the first oil crisis, realizing that the Arab oil-producing countries singled out US and Denmark for being the two most pro-Israeli countries. At the time, we had a 99% dependence on foreign oil. Today, we are a net exporter. We have oil and gas in the North Sea that is going to be depleted. We know that it's been enormously advantageous to us to have oil and gas, to find that extracted, but it's running out, of course. What we've done to become a net exporter of energy is to decrease our energy use. We've decoupled, as you would say, economic growth and energy consumption. That means in practical terms that if you have economic growth in Denmark for the last 25 years, 67% of GDP, you don't increase your energy consumption at all. We maybe increased it 1% in those 25 years where we increased our GDP 65, 67%. That gives you a lot of economic competitiveness advantages. You save a lot of money by that.
How did you do that?
We developed renewable energy. So today we harness so much wind that 24% of our electricity consumption is from wind.
Have you been aggressive in energy efficiency as well?
And we've been extremely aggressive in energy efficiency by using, again, some of you would think that we Scandinavian welfare people are socialists. We're not. We use the market mechanisms, the way to tax the right goods to create the right economic bad behavior. So if you want to be steering your society towards energy independence or renewables, you just tax carbon-based fuel and make carbon-based fuel very expensive. Then companies will find out how to make renewable energy. So today, as a consequence of this, simplified, we have the world's largest wind turbine producer, Vestas. GE, some of the Indian and Spanish companies are not as big as Vestas. That's a quite fine use of taxes to create demand for the right products. Same in biofuel. We have two, by design, of the companies in the world market that produces the enzymes for transforming biomass to biofuel, simply because we made it attractive for them to buy biofuel. Energy efficiency is, of course, key, and very largely, that's my impression, the US ignored. There are so many enormous low-hanging fruits in the US society in terms of energy efficiency and potential. We reap that all together. We are a small tribe, so we like to save money. For example, in heating of houses, we have some of the most advanced companies in our society doing energy efficiency. Insulation, a big company called Rockwool. Windows, you need to have very, very insulated windows in a climate similar to yours. So we have a global player there, Velux. But we also have companies making thermostats and pumps who are key in any sort of energy-saving device in a house or energy production. Global players. One of our companies is 12,000 blue-collar workers in Denmark. You would not anticipate Denmark to have a company of that size where you would make that kind of pumps, and they are a real global player in energy efficiency. I could go in depth with all of this, but this is really that one sector where our society has realized that energy could not be considered what most Americans still seem to appear to believe in, a free good forever. So we've heavily taxed it to scare you a little bit, but also tell you how important it is to get the relative prices right. We paid $10 a gallon. Sounds prohibitive for transportation and cars, but it's not. It's a matter of adjusting to it, because if you know that you pay that price, that we would think is more in accordance with the world markets, long-term projections of oil prices, we will get the adjustment of our economic activities much better in accordance with long-term relative prices and scarcities. So we will advance the consumption and the production of those things in society that will be better and more in accordance with real economic efficient allocation. Tough policies. Some of you would say, but did you hear that they paid $10 a gallon? Yes, but then you can collect that fiscal revenue and you can decrease income taxes, and that's exactly what we're doing. And by decreasing income taxes, you increase labor supply. We need that because of our demography. So actually, government policies can be quite instrumental in securing economic growth and the composition of a modern, smart market economy, and at the same time ensuring those fiscal incomes that we need for a high public spending.